keep doing it short term. Senator Orrin Hatch joins us live from Capitol Hill now. He is ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee. Senator, you voted against that continuing resolution, the short-term funding measure, a couple of weeks ago. Now you've got another one. Same vote?
Yeah, it's going to be the same vote. You know, we're heading to $15 trillion in debt, and by 2020, probably $22 trillion in debt. We just can't keep living with this, and to cut $2 billion here and there just isn't the way to get there. I think we've got to get a little tougher about it.
Well, there are some Republicans who say, hey, cutting $2 billion out for a 2 or 3 week spending bill is not a bad day's work.
Well, any cuts are good, but when you stop and think about it, when you realize that we're, according to the president's own actuaries, by 2022, we're going to be about 90% of our GDP in spending. I mean, if we do that, we're Greece, and this country will not remain the greatest country in the world. We've got to stop it. And the only way to do it, it seems to me, is to get a major continuing resolution that basically does the appropriate financial restraint that really has to be done.
Democrats say that Republicans aren't being cooperative in this process. Republicans say, hey, Democrats were in charge of both houses of Congress and the White House last year, and that's when this budget should have been passed.
Yeah, where was their budget last year, or the year before, or the year before? I mean, where is it today? They control the Senate. They have 53 senators. I mean, they're not in any kind of a status to be able to talk about trying to get things under control, because everything they're doing is spending us blind. And we've got to stop it. And I don't know any other way to do it other than to vote against these type of things because they're not enough. So, you know, let's face it, we've got to have some people stand up here, and the Democrats have got to get real. And in the Senate, in the House, some of them are. In the Senate, my gosh, it's the same old thing. You got just a total bunch of liberals in the Senate, except for maybe one senator. Some of them claim to be moderates, but they're only moderate. They only vote with us when their vote isn't needed by the Democrats. And frankly, I'm sick of it. I think we've got to start standing up and get some restraint around here, and the only way to do it I know of is to vote against some of these smaller bills that really aren't going to do the job.
Well, you also say that there needs to be more transparency in the process. What do you mean specifically?
Well, we just heard yesterday from the Secretary of Health and Human Services that you know, a high percentage of 67% of our requests up here for information haven't been fulfilled. And when I asked her, I said, well, will you do that? And we'll give you 30 days to do it. She would not commit to that. So, and I can tell you there's a total lack of transparency on this so-called health care bill that's going to cost us an arm and a leg and push us towards that 90% spending of GDP. And we get there, I'll tell you, it will be almost impossible to get this country back. So we have to start now. We have to do everything in our power to do it now. And you know, we have to be responsible. And I don't think just $1 billion here or $2 billion here is being totally responsible.
All right, so as the ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee, you have a very responsible position. You can't wave a magic wand and get the budget passed, but if it were your budget, how would you make the cuts that need to be made? What would go?
Well, first of all, I demand presidential leadership on everything in the budget, including the entitlement programs. You cannot change the entitlement programs for better and for the future hope of our children and grandchildren. You cannot change that without presidential leadership. Right now, we don't have presidential leadership. He has not led on budgetary issues. He has not led on the health care issues. He is not leading on Libya. He is not leading on the entitlement programs. And you can't make the total things that have to be made on just 12% of the budget, the discretionary part. And I think everything's got to be in play, and we're going to have to really do a very good job of making sure that we're still the strongest nation in the world, while at the same time the strongest economically. And right now, we're headed the other way, and I think it's because of these liberals here in Congress that have just spent us blind all these years. It's spending are the three most important things we need to do, is get rid of the total spending that they're doing and start getting where we live within our means. And that's going to take a long time because of the now almost $15 trillion in national debt that we have.
Republican Senator Orrin Hatch, Republican, as I mentioned, of Utah. Senator, thank you.